Welcome in, welcome in. We're gonna react to this LSU Auburn game. What a roller coaster of a game. Y'all go ahead and drop a like, share the stream, follow us, subscribe to the channel, do what you gotta do to make sure you never miss another episode. Welcome to the Verdant Verdict. I'm your host, Jacob Verdant, and today we're bringing you sports talk on the go. What a game, what a game. You don't want to see anybody go down, and unfortunately on the opening kickoff we saw Seven Banks. Hopefully he's okay. We got the news that he had movement in his extremities and that he was conscious getting off the field, so that's good signs. And then going forward, you also saw some issues with Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels seemed to have aggravated a knee injury, which is kind of unfortunate because going into this game, his back was hurting him a little bit. So the fact that he's got a back injury, the fact that he has some knee soreness, it's gonna probably provide LSU with a little bit of a crutch here. They're going to lean on that deep running back room. They performed really well tonight. The only thing that I would say about the running game is just that bug that John Emery seems to have in the back of his head. Every now and then, some previous experiences kind of pop up in an athlete's head, especially in big time moments like this. And John Emery has had moments in the past where he's fumbled the football, what have you. And my worry is that he can't seem to get past that, and it's kind of sticking with him. You saw that moment with him and Denbrock during spring camp where he had a little issue and a little hiccup as well, and Denbrock was trying to reinstate in his head that we're not going to turn away from you. You're our guy. We have full trust in you. But you see John Emery perform and provide us with explosive plays like that huge touchdown run. Shades of Destran High School, John Emery, where he's just running all over the field, breaking records left and right. Moving on to Josh Williams. Josh Williams provided a big boost. He leaded the team in rushing attempts, rushing yards, and his highest rush was 15 yards. So he's getting active in that depth and he's getting down the field. But once again, I was really impressed with the way John Emery was able to score the football in such a big explosive run. Kudos to John Emery, and hopefully he's going to be able to carry that with him and allow it to propel him into kind of some momentum going into this tough SEC play. As like I said, we're going to need to rely on that run game. Passing game looked horrible tonight. I'll be honest. We only completed a combined 10 passes on 26 attempts with two quarterbacks. You saw, of course, like I said, Jane Daniels goes down, gets sacked 3 times. I can't tell you how many times he got hit. I mean, he rushed 16 different times. So you can say he got hit close to a dozen times, pretty hard. Knee to knee contact is what's going to have him out right now. But the backup in Garrett Nussmeier didn't get that much chance. 6 passing attempts, 2 for 6, 5 yards, and you seen him and Brian Kelly kind of going a little back and forth, and not a back and forth, but kind of like a conversation. And Brian Kelly was not pleased with the way Nussmeier was deciding where he's gonna throw, the way he's going through his progressions, and that's kind of something you worry about with a younger quarterback who doesn't have much experience, especially with Nussmeier in particular. That was one of the things that was a high question mark around him going out of the Arkansas game of last year. One of my question marks is going to be in that receiving game. You got Kayshon Boutte. He had 2 targets and he only had 1 catch for 4 yards. That other target was a pretty easy ball, and he drops it. It's right in the chest. You can't put it in a better spot. Garrett Nussmeier. Um, I don't really know what to make of this Kayshon Boutte situation. It could just be a slump. He's got a lot of things going on. I guess the fact that you just had your first child into your life, maybe he's got some things going on mentally that he can't detach from. It was also a big game. I mean, look at Coy Moore pregame talking, chirping. You got him and Kayshawn going back and forth. Maybe that weighed into it. I mean, you saw Coy Moore get active, so it definitely added as a catalyst for Auburn in some ways. But against LSU, maybe it nipped him in the butt a little bit here. I really don't know what to make of Kayshawn's performance or why it's happening. He's an elite player. Maybe he's just getting frozen out of the coverage. Um, Jack Bech, though, only 1 target as well. It just seems like the passing game kind of broke down with the offensive line not playing together, not playing as a unit. Of course, Garrett Dellinger's out, but at the same time, you got Miles Frazier coming in, an experienced guard. I just wouldn't. I'm not gonna say I wouldn't expect him to miss a beat. Yeah, some rough patches here and there, especially with the fact that you're on the road. It's a whole lot noisier. The communication isn't gonna be there, but for them to give Jaden that little time all night was rough, and quite frankly, I don't blame him for having to run out of the pocket as often as he did because he was trying to avoid that injury 10 all night, and sadly, he had to go in it twice. In this situation. as a coach, I mean, you never want to put your player in harm's way, but at the same time, the running game was the only thing working. The rushing game was the only thing working. Jaden was making guys miss and getting active outside, escaping the pocket, the traffic that they were letting accumulate. Um, the defense started out rough. We went down 14 nothing early, and maybe that was because of the big blow that they had early with Seven Banks going down, or maybe they just got shocked a little bit by a couple big plays that Auburn had in the script early on. But the defense wound up shaking back and coming in clutch. Shout out to Jarrett Bernard Converse for that punt recovery. That was a pretty big moment, pretty pivotal moment of the game. It seems like that's going to be what sealed it. But all in all, overall reaction, 9 punts, way too much. LSU's offense needs to get a little bit more efficient. Brian Kelly seemed visibly frustrated, like we said. He's chirping at Nussmeyer, and he called the Tigers undisciplined prior to his halftime speech. So there's going to be a lot of rough practices coming there. Jack Besh is going to stick as our punt returner. Pretty good performances from him tonight. He did what he could with the situations provided to him. Shout out Jack Besh as well. The defense, though, man. Let's go ahead and break down this defensive performance. Our boy Jay Roy is going to lead the Tigers in tackles tonight. Makai Wingo filling in for Mason Smith has 4, with Jay Ward also having 4. Bijan Jalari getting active with the tackles for losses, a couple sacks. And how about Harold Perkins? I mean, Harold Perkins, a true freshman. Like, I've never seen someone so young, so unfazed, in such a high moment. If you're that young, like a Mason Smith or even like Jack Besh last year for LSU, these true freshmen are coming in and they're getting active early. So, I mean, that speaks volumes of the recruiting and the coaching and the schemes. It seems like the Tigers. It seems like they find all the explosive players and they got all the skill guys out of Louisiana. And they dragged everybody and put them all into this offensive concoction that can just provide for insane plays and insane highlights. I mean, these wide receivers are running extremely fast, insane verticals, insane physiques, insane speeds. I mean, it's just pretty uncanny what these guys are able to do. It's like Louisiana's oozing out talent, being able to be the in-state school, the SEC school. It's a big boost. You have a leg up on the competition when you're so close to home to all these talented guys. I think that this pretty good game. I wasn't expecting it to be so close. I thought we'd win by a couple possessions. I didn't think that we would have Jaden Daniels out. I didn't think that this would end the way it did down to the wire. But Auburn, looking at the way Robbie did on his birthday, Auburn's QB, he threw for over 330 yards. Insane. He did throw that pick to Perk, but he had a pretty lights out performance against that defense. And that DB unit was going to get tested pretty hard here, especially with the fact that they're not going to be able to communicate as they once thought or as they once were able to. Communication's going to break down, especially when you got leaders out in the DB unit, such as Major Burns, especially when you're in a pretty tough and loud and not necessarily obnoxious, but pretty vocal environment. They weren't pulling any punches. Bigsby, huge running back that's just getting active. They had another running back average 6 yards per carry. The D line was getting wore down. Had some big scary runs, gash through the middle of the line and break through into the linebackers. But all in all, the defense stuck it out to the end. Passing game though definitely going to need some work, but that's just because of the offensive line and the mistakes that we had in the injury room. It's not an excuse. Definitely going to have to still have that next man up mentality and really flex off that depth that LSU has and show the schemes and just the fact that they're not going to back down from any situation. I mean, it's going to be rough. I'm not going to lie. We got Tennessee, a top 10 team coming in. It's going to be an early morning game. Yeah, it's Tiger Stadium, but if we're going to have to start a backup from the get-go and we already have some offensive line question marks, it'll be a pretty big test. But that's where you get these guys to buy in and develop that chemistry and get that trust. Big moments, big time players make big time plays. So I think this offensive line could definitely be forged through the fire here that they're going to be entering in the next couple of weeks. But it'll be a pretty unforgiving season. Florida after, and then you got Ole Miss, you got Bama. It's gonna be a rough bit of the schedule. The SEC West isn't too kind to LSU, especially in the back half of the season, especially when this is the time of the year when everyone's gonna go down and everyone's gonna get hurt. Um, Score prediction was 31 points. I'm pretty surprised that we got 21. Thankfully, that the defense was able to come up with some clutch touchdowns and or a clutch touchdown, make sure that we were able to get on the board early to stop the shutdown that we were having, stop the 14-0. Able to claw back sorta by halftime and be within one possession and hold Auburn scoreless for the entire second half. So that defense, really flipped the switch coming out of the break. Matt House had them on their P's and Q's. So for them to be able to step up and rise up in a tough moment like that, I was pretty impressed. Surprisingly, though, John Emery leading the team in receiving yards. He had one catch, 39-yard catch. 39-yard catch, but ultimately, the touchdown is going to be his highlight of the night. He was finally able to get back. It's been well over a year and a half of absence for him. Scary moments though in SEC football today. You had Georgia almost get upset. They beat Mizzou 26-22. It was looking like Georgia was going to slip through the cracks and fall victim to another upset, but another team in the top four that was facing some adversity today. Alabama Crimson Tide and Arkansas, kind of wishy-washy performance, but you can blame it on Bryce Young exiting the game, but at the same time, Nick Saban's standard that doesn't really fly in Tuscaloosa. Kentucky and Will Levis taking the L, losing to Ole Miss. That was a pretty common topic that we were discussing throughout the week on who was going to win that game. A lot of people had the Wildcats on upset alert, despite Will Levis hitting a hot streak lately. It's kind of hard to beat that Ole Miss environment and just that whole scheme. That's a pretty tough college. LSU is going to have their homecoming game against Ole Miss, and that'll really show who's ready, and that'll really show who's hitting SEC competition. But look, LSU, give them credit, undefeated in SEC play, beat two pretty impressive offensive teams, and the Mississippi State game was far more. Comfortable, far more impressive in terms of the performance, but they still got it done here tonight. Like I said, the defense was able to flip the switch, go out and regroup, recalculate. Matt House got his guys in order, and the offense had a lot of struggles, a lot of adversity because of that offensive line, letting a lot of stuff through, lack of production, and it automatically just mutilates the passing game, mutilates the receiving stats, and hopefully Keyshawn Boutte will be able to get back to that old Keyshawn that we once saw. And hopefully that Jaden Daniels is going to get some time to get comfortable in that pocket. It seems like a lot of the time you see Jaden Daniels getting rushed out of that pocket, getting hit, having to throw some unfortunate pass where it's just not accurate, or it's just it makes you wonder, like what's the play being called. I want to know the whole situation here. I'm not gonna jump and just immediately start criticizing Jaden and saying he needs to pass more. I mean, I understand you don't want your quarterback to be your leading rusher, and you definitely want your guys in this talented of a wide receiver room to get talented and to get touches and to get active and to get on the scoreboard, get on the stat sheet. But the fact of the matter is, it just doesn't look like Jaden has enough time or enough. I don't. I mean, is it? I don't understand. Is it control? Is it is it a discipline? Is it you see a legal shift penalty on Keyshawn Boutte, and I believe it was Noah Kane because Jaden Daniels sent the motion before they were able to get set. So see that situation right there is going to be Jaden Daniels' mistake. So is a play where Jaden Daniels is getting sacked? Is he supposed to be doing something? Is he supposed to be calling a check? Is there a miscommunication between him and the offensive line? There's a lot of things that we're going to have to consider here, and we're going to have to dive deep in throughout the week. Uh, you can follow us right here and make sure that we keep updated with all the latest news. You can follow me. I'll be interviewing Brian Kelly Monday at his press conference. We'll have a couple LSU players come on Tuesday night. We got Carl in the chat. Boutte's thinking too much about the Gordon money. Well, I mean, he's been pretty active in the NIL world, Keyshawn Boutte, but I don't know, man. I don't think that have any effect on him. He had some last year, and at the end of the day, I think it's just going to be the fact that the passing game is just not able to get going. I think they need to develop a little bit of chemistry. I think they need to just get out there and see some success. You got to see the ball get in the end zone. You got to kind of just feel get back in that groove. Get everything greased up and working again. Hopefully Jaden Daniels isn't going to be out here too long, especially with Armani Goodwin being hurt. We're already out in terms of offensive production, so it would just be a whole lot scarier if you're going to just have everyone keep dropping. The defensive side of things, so everybody looked pretty good. I don't have any big complaints. Only thing I will say is, good friend of the show, buddy Sage Ryan, was able to impact the Tigers pretty positively throughout this entire season, and he adds a lot of good insight and a lot of good charisma and a lot of good chemistry on us. Like he's such a good teammate to play for, such a good friend. He's hyping up his guys after a big play, and you love to see that. You love to see those guys, but at the same time, it's unfortunate. He's a younger guy. He's still getting in his groove. He redshirted, so a couple mistakes are going to happen here and there. You had a couple penalties with the holding and whatnot. Um, no real big time mistakes. I think Sage Ryan has enough talent and enough potential to where things like that kind of slip through the cracks when you're grading performances. I'm impressed with Sage Ryan's performance, and I think this is just going to be a learning moment. He's on the road in the SEC in a tough environment, and all in all, I feel like he did pretty well. He didn't really get exposed. He didn't do anything that costed us the game. And at the end of the day, we came out there with a W, and he contributed to a pretty impressive second half shutout. So congrats to Sage Ryan. Congrats to that LSU defense. Congrats to Matt House. Officials not too good. Man, I know. I feel like every impressive play I saw in LSU is a flag getting thrown. There was flags. Wide receivers dropping too many passes. I agree. Shout out Carl Dunn, active in the chat, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate you, dude. But wide receivers dropping too many passes. Yeah, Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor had one in his hands. It's I don't. Brian Thomas had 4 targets and came down with nothing. It was interesting night tonight. I hope we don't see anything like it again in terms of offensive production. It was definitely lacking. Um, I've been a big advocate for Jaden Daniels just because I'm trying to sit here and be optimistic. I like Jaden. I think he's got good potential. Going into the QB competition, I was a little worried about the accuracy. I was a little worried about the fact that I wasn't too comfortable with him throwing the ball in the pocket. Uh, he passed the eye test for me in fall camp. I liked it. I liked the way he was quick with it, and I liked the fact that he was mobile and that he can provide a good element like he's been providing. I mean, he was a pretty good crutch to lean on tonight against Auburn. But the problem I'm having, not specifically with Jay and Daniels, but just with the offenses in general, is just the fact that it doesn't look like the main goal is to get the ball in a deep pass, or I don't think that that's in the scheme for some reason, and I'm just curious. I mean, you got Malik Neighbors going deep a couple times, but I just feel like Jane Daniels needs a couple more plays drawn up, a couple more scripted deep tosses. Give me some deep routes. Let's get Kayshawn in space. Let's try to see if we can just lob one up and see if we can come down with it. Carlton Cooper, LSU defense gave up over 300 yards, sea-level passer. Yeah, he's a freshman quarterback. I think a lot of that is going to be like how we were saying earlier. Major Burns, pretty valuable part of this DB room, the communication, the mouthpiece, I call him, of the defense of backs. He's out tonight, and when you're in a road environment like that, communication is key, of course, but you're limited in a sense where not only are for most of the game was the defense playing from behind, but they're sitting here thinking that the QB's going to run out on them and that Bigsby's going to come down the hole hard. It seemed like they were stacking the box a lot, trying to send a lot of pressure, and it wound up costing them as they had to deplete some guys out of the secondary. Um, Brian Kelly and Matt House, though, I'm pretty impressed with how they were able to handle it. Yeah, they gave up over 300 yards. I mean, it's rough. It was a rough game, and he put on he had almost 3 times what both of our guys had combined. But the fact that we were able to shut him out and not put him in the end zone in the entire second half, or even a field goal, that was pretty impressive. And that was vital because we weren't going to be able to put up another touchdown. I don't think we were going to be able to get down the field again and answer back. It was looking rough. Our guys were getting tired and tired, especially it looked like towards the end. The defensive line was getting a little tired. As like I said, it seemed like they were blitzing a lot and getting inside, and pushing the pace. It was a long, close battle, long, close SEC battle. But this is what's gonna, like I said, develop this chemistry with these guys. This is what you need. You need these games. Now they trust each other. You know, Harold Perkins, true freshman, maybe, I doubt it, talented guy, but maybe some guys were kind of questionable on that team. Maybe some veterans were like, can I trust him in a clutch? Guess what? Now you can. You've seen him perform. You've seen a lot of guys get active. That's big boost for the coaches. The coaches know who to count on. The coaches know who to lean on, and it's definitely one that I'm glad to have. Carl says sometimes you got to win the ugly games. That's it. You know, I'd rather win the ugly games than lose them. And at the end of the day, LSU's undefeated in SEC competition, so I'm feeling pretty good about them, and I think that they're going to be able to steer this ship in the right direction. You know, week one, rough. It's a ranked team. They're undefeated. Uh, LSU's steered the ship right, 4 wins in a row. Successful offense. It looked like that offensive point average before this game was 40. It's going to take a big hit after the 21-point performance tonight. But like I said, I'm impressed with the ability to stare in the face of adversity and be resilient. You're down 14-0. Climb back at half, get the ball back, and get some activity. But not only that, though. Let's talk about the injuries. Let's talk about who was already out of the game, and let's just talk about the fact that we're on the road here with a coach who's not too familiar with SEC road noise or just the SEC road environment. And I mean, believe it or not, I think that plays a big role in the game. I think that fan noise and that whole energy in terms of being too loud, whether you can't hear the plays or just giving them anxiety, making them nervous. Cajun says, I think at home in Tennessee will be different. Yeah, I hope so. I hope that 11 a.m. start will have them nice and energized. Tennessee at home, pretty scary game as well. But if this defense is ready, if this defense is able to go out and put on a show, then I think it would be pretty good performance. My thing is, though, LSU needs to go out and get active early. LSU needs to stop dragging this thing out and relying on the other team to make a mistake to win. In a sense where um, we're giving up easy yards. We're giving up easy catches. We're dropping balls. And I don't know if it's a mindset thing with the wide receiver group. They've had a lot of scrutiny, and it seems like every week there's something. I mean, you got Coy Moore this week. First week, you got all this nonsense about Malik and Kayshawn, and then that kind of trickled over into the next week, and then Kayshawn misses. I mean, there's just been one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. Hopefully, the wide receiver room can just get all that junk out their head and just hopefully get on the right track. Cortez Hankton is, general of the wide receivers. I think he's experienced. He's been in their shoes. He's been at the next level. He's been there, done that. You know that I think holds a good value of respect amongst the players. Jack Best said on our show a couple weeks ago how when someone has done something you've done, it just that respect is already there. You know, they've been in a spot where you want to be, they've done something you want to done, or excuse me, they've done something you want to do. They've already accomplished your dreams. You know what I mean? That's the type of people that you want to just be a sponge and soak up information from. LSU's offense strives and tempo. Why are we playing skull drag slow offense? Yeah, it seems like they're trying to. I don't know. Are they running the ball to set up something? Are they trying to set up some type of play action passing? Are they trying to get the tight ends active on some block and releases and get Mason Taylor? I mean, Brian Kelly's fond of the tight end, so is he trying to get tight ends active early with the run game and just see what can happen? And the fact that they go to passes and it just gets muffed up, Jaden's getting hit. They're worried Jaden can't stay in the game healthy. It seemed like they were talking to Jaden every now and then on the sideline. Right before he goes in the injury tent, you saw two people huddled over him. So I wonder how long that was a concern and how long he was hurting. So um, I think that they're trying to figure out how to get these guys going early, and they just haven't been able to put their finger on it. But I think you get Dellinger back, you get this offensive line bought in. I mean, these guys are bought in. I don't know, man. It's just a rough defensive line, a rough situation, and they faced a pretty good pass rush, pretty good pressure too. It was probably one of the better defensive lines we played all year. I mean, Florida State's defensive line was pretty impressive, but this Auburn SEC defense is a pretty elite level. LSU's defense playing for the run. Second quarter, 9 minute in the game, Auburn didn't score. Right, yeah. Offense always have that type of gutsy performance. So I mean, I've just been waiting for him to sling one to Kayshawn or sling one to Malik Neighbors, who's been a huge big game player, as well as Jerry Jenkins. I mean, you got a lot of weapons here. I don't know why we're not able to highlight them or put them in the right scheme to figure it out. But tomorrow the Saints are playing at 8 o'clock in the morning. Is anybody in the chat gonna be waking up at 8 o'clock in the morning to watch a New Orleans Saints play? Pretty bad injury report for the Saints. It looks like a ton of adversity heading New Orleans' way. You're gonna have first off your quarterback, your general, the play caller, signal caller, Jameis Winston out with a injury. Seemed like he had two injuries. I believe it was a back injury and an ankle injury. So Andy Dalton's going to come in, and I don't know. I don't think I would write Andy Dalton off yet, just for the simple fact that he's a pretty experienced quarterback. Quite frankly, he's more experienced than Jameis Winston. And honestly, I feel like I trust his arm a whole lot more. Jameis has had 3 interceptions in the fourth quarter this season, and it's just kind of that Bucks game just gave me PTSD in believing in him, in the sense where he's not going to turn the ball over, and in the sense where I can trust his accuracy. It's definitely still a question. It's definitely still something we have to work on. Not that he's horrible. I like Jameis. I like the way he plays, and I think he can trend in the right direction. But I'm definitely worried about that decision making skill of his needs to be developed a little more. So Andy Dalton, he's gonna go in there with it. Andrews Pete is gonna be out with a concussion. Michael Thomas out with a foot. Marcus May out with a rib, and Jarvis Landry's questionable. Alvin Kamara, I believe, is questionable as well. Man, that's almost every stud for the Saints. Marcus May's big boost in that safety room, especially after losing CD, especially after losing Malcolm Jenkins. Um, you're gonna want to watch that deep ball against Minnesota, especially. They got Justin Jefferson, they got Adam Thielen. They're gonna get active. Kirk Cousins likes to sling that rock down the field, and if you got your safety out and you only got Tyron out there, and Charles Gardner Johnson isn't there to play backup anymore and cover, I think that Justin Jefferson might have a little easier time. I mean, you saw what he was able to do to Green Bay and Jair Alexander, and quite frankly, I don't think that the Saints are going to be able to have an answer for Justin Jefferson tomorrow. I think that it's going to have to rely on whether or not Cam Jordan and tomorrow you're going to be able to get into that pocket and disrupt Kirk, put the pressure on him, and kind of constrict that gritty man in J Jet. So I think, unfortunately, the Saints will probably lose this one in London. How about the Saints uniforms? Black helmets, white pants, white jersey. Why not all black? You saw the Commanders go all black. I liked it. I thought it looked good. I feel like the Saints missed a pretty good opportunity to go all black and look like they're wearing kind of a John Wick suit. They could have dressed a funeral. Would have been pretty cool. Saints missed out on that one there, but hopefully they don't miss out on too much here. Well, this has been the Verdant Verdict. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to follow, make sure to subscribe, share the show, like the show, do whatever you got to do to make sure that you don't miss another upload. Bringing you sports talk on the go. As always, I'm your host, Jacob Verdant. We're going to have some more exclusive coverage. We'll be talking to head coach LSU football, Brian Kelly, on Monday. We'll be having 4 LSU player interviews posted Tuesday night, and we'll continue with the LSU coverage and the pregame and postgame shows. I'm going to just keep doing the postgame shows live after the away games. The home games might be a little rough. That walk home might have me a little too tired to go live at 11:30 at night. I'll keep the home game ones on Sunday morning, but away games we can go ahead and squeeze it out as the walk to the TV to the camera isn't as far as the House Tiger Stadium. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Leave a like. Y'all have a good night.